be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. As Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem, he traveled through Samaria and Galilee, and he was entering a village. 10 lepers met him. They stood at a distance from him and raised their voice, saying, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." And when he saw them, he said, "Go, show yourselves to the priest." As they were going, they were cleansed. And one of them, realizing he had been healed, returned, glorifying God in a loud voice. And he fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. Jesus said in reply, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? He said to him, "Stand up and go. Your faith have saved you." The Gospel of the Lord. I have a couple of principles from the first reading, but I don't know if I should go to the Gospel or just stay with the first reading. All right. Well, let me just make a couple of points from the Gospel, and then I go to the first reading. Then, 10 were healed, where they're not. What happened with the other 9? Some could say, well, they have not realized they were healed yet. Or, 2, they were just obedient. Jesus said, go to the priest, so they're going to the priest. But then it says, stand up and go, your faith has saved you, to that one. So something about faith in that one that caused him to turn. So when Jesus says go to the priest, it's because once you go to the priest is the one who examines your skin, what your condition, to see if you're allowed to come back with the rest of the community. So the priests were like the COVID test to see if you could return to the community. So there's a sense of, well, let's make sure that we are healed. But this man already knew he was healed. So it is his faith, knowing that I am healed, and it was healed by Jesus, not healed by the priest to whom I'm going. And I don't need his authority to say, you are good to go. He already knows. And therefore he goes to the source of his healing and give thanks. And also another point here is the relationship there is between having faith and being grateful. Gratitude. Thank you. So one returns because his faith causes him to be grateful. Now, going to the first reading, I was struck by different occasions, it speaks about authority that was given by the Lord, and he will be the one who probes the work of those who act with authority and power. He will scrutinize. Judgment is stern for the exalted. The mighty shall be mightily put to the test. Those in power are rigorous scrutinies impends them. So there's a sense that one, authority and power comes from the Lord. Authority was given you by the Lord, and this is the book of Wisdom, chapter 6, verse 1 to 11. Speaks about authority and power coming from God, given by the Lord. So God gives power and authority. But then the second part of today's first reading, how, this is like a warning. If power and authority has been given to you, you will be judged accordingly too. More will be asked of you. You will be probed, scrutinized. You will be mightily put to the test. rigorous scrutiny impends you. So there's a sense of, with great power, great comes great responsibility. To whom a lot has been given, a lot would be asked. There's a reason why many people always shy away from having positions of power and authority, because you know more will be demanded of you. Yet God still gives power and authority, but when power and authority are given and they come from God, is given as to be exercised in service of others. Power, authority exist as to serve. Power and authority exist as to serve, and to serve the common good. If power, authority, is not being exercised towards service and the service of the common good, that power and authority can be taken away. God gives, God takes away. Also, those who are under the authority and power of others, they submit, and by the word submit, submission means they put themselves under the mission of this leader who has power and authority. And what is the mission of he or she who has power and authority? Power and authority exists as to serve and serve the common good. So if a person who is submissive or subordinate under the order or under the mission of a leader who has power and authority, but if that leader does not use power and authority to serve and to serve the common good, and this person under the person with leadership has no obligation to obey, because he only obeys in accordance to the leader exercising his authority towards the service of the common good. This is basic Catholic social teaching. Yesterday I was teaching that to my students in St. Leo, and they didn't see the power of it. They're just too young. But those who've grown in this world and see how even nations and leaders of great nations can be overturned, and things can change really quickly when this principle is not followed. Why? Because power and authority exist to serve, and to serve the common good. The leader of a mission, the mission of a leader is to exercise that power and authority to serve the common good, not to serve himself. It may serve him or her, but in the end, the ultimate end is to serve the common good. Now, in regards to those who are subordinate to the ones who have power and authority, also the responsibility of challenging, is that decision in accordance with what is good for all? And if it's not, the challenge could go even further, to demand things to be changed for the service of the common good. Now, yesterday as I was teaching this to my students, there's this beautiful two lines that I thought help us understand common good. And one is quoting from Gaudium et Spes, from the Second Vatican Council, paragraph 26. It says the following: the common good compromises the sum total of social conditions which allow people, either groups or individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. Fulfillment is the aim of the common good. Are individuals and groups within a society able to reach their fulfillment? reach the fullness of who they can be. If that's happening, and if the conditions are there in a society to help individuals reach the maximum potential of their own fulfillment, then that's a good society. And if their leaders serving the good of individuals and group being able to explore and get to the maximum potential of their own livelihood and their own life and fulfillment, then that's a good society that is serving the common good. And then the second quote, this is from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 1925. It says that there are three essential elements in regards to really serving the common good. One is rights, two is prosperity, three is peace and security. One. So it says, common good consists of three essential elements. One is the respect for and the promotion of the fundamental rights of every person. Every person, regardless of color, of race, of gender, of language, of if they're handicapped, if they're in coma, if they're vulnerable, if they're unable to even walk, it don't matter. It's a human being, and they have rights, inalienable rights. So essential component, an essential element for the common good is the respect for and promotion of the fundamental rights of every human being. Second one is prosperity. So the development of the not just temporal, but temporal and spiritual goods of a society. Because ultimately it's fulfillment, and we know temporal goods are not going to be enough for each person to obtain fulfillment. Is temporal, but also spiritual goods. So the first one is rights. The second one is prosperity, the development of spiritual and temporal goods of a society. And the third one is peace and security of the groups and of its members. If you want peace, then fight for justice. If there's no justice, there's never going to be peace. So peace and security, do I feel safe in my society, in my group? Do I feel I am being protected? Do I feel that my rights are being promoted and respected? Do I feel that I'm encouraged to get to the fullness of my potentials? Do I explore prosperity in temporal and spiritual ways? And those three essential elements consist of what it is the common good. But we go back to the first reading. Leaders who have power and authority, and you may be thinking presidents or leaders of nations, you don't have to go that far. But the fact that you have a family, if you're a mom, if you're a dad, power and authority has been given to you over your own children, over your loved ones. How you're exercising that power and authority? Are you exercising it to serve and to serve the common good? Are the people entrusted to you are cared for? Are you able to help them attain the fullness of their potentials? Are you teaching them they have rights and that it should be respected, promoted? Ultimately, love is the fulfillment of every law, of every power, and of every authority. Therefore, when we look at all the laws that have been written with power and authority, they're summarized in one law. Love God, love neighbor as yourself. So, as we read today's first reading, Book of Wisdom, chapter 6, verse 1 to 11, and there's this strong warning to leaders, those with power and authority, and in many ways we all have, in one way or another, a power and authority that's been given to us. To whom Allah has been given, Allah will also be asked. So let's today pray, not just for us to exercise whatever power and authority has been given to us in service of the common good, but let's also pray for leaders of our community, leaders of our state, of our country, of nations, leaders of the world. So let us stand now and present our prayers and petitions.